for a splitter so I can actually sit in here and hear Patrick? Okay,
Sure.
cool.
Go ahead. Okay.
All right. We ready to go, or do we want to wait for a splitter?
Oh, we can just move forward and there can just be like a little man rummaging behind me
Okay.
and I don't think it'll interrupt us too much.
Great. Well, hooray for little men rummaging. So,
I immediately regretted calling him a little like my husband, a little rummaging man, but that
well,
how
it's
you
on the internet now.
I
Everyone will
know.
forever know Ted as a little rummaging man.
Yep.
That's a good way to
Oops.
kick things off. So, to everybody
So
out
sorry.
there in Streamland, thank you so much for tuning in. You could be watching Kendrick perform at the Grammys, though I think that's over by now. I think it's Adele, right? You could be watching Daigo Umehara body Lupe Fiasco in the worst exhibition match for a Street Fighter launch ever. But instead, you're here watching us, watching me talk with Jenn Frank about writing and vaping and appetizers and all kinds of awesome things. Thank you so much. That, or you're watching the video on demand or the podcast later, in which case you're less cool than the stream audience, but still pretty cool. Anyway, today's guest is none other than Jenn Frank. She is, I believe, it's official that you're one of the best writers in video games. I kind of think in general, but certainly in video games. I think I actually voted for you for an award one year. I don't you won something, right? Didn't you? Was it like 2013 or
Sounds like
something?
nepotism is what that sounds like. Uh, yeah, I won that video game journalism prize. Thanks very much to the judges. That was a really nice honor.
But before that, I feel like most of your writing base that I'm aware of followed you from One Up and then saw you at Unwinnable. You've done a whole bunch of awesome stuff, writing for a whole bunch of awesome places. I can't even begin to remember all the stuff you've done. So that's my introduction. What did I miss? How would you want to introduce yourself?
Um, so I used to actually work at a toy store, and that's actually how we know Lupe Fiasco. And he used to come in, he collects Shawnimals. Sean Smith used to write for EGM.
Okay.
And one day freaked out, was like, I don't want to review games. I want to go to art school. And then he was like, I want to sew plush toys for a living. And that is the story of Shawnimals and Wee Ninja and all of those characters. And so while I was freelancing at EGM, fresh out of college, I was also selling toys at a toy store in Chicago. And there was this dude who was really kind of gregarious and overly friendly and always talking about the stuff he was going to do, super into Shawnimals, always in there buying them. One day he comes in with a magazine. He's like, "This is me," and we're like, "Oh, you're a musician," and that is the story of Lupe Fiasco, who started like posing with his Shaunimal collection.
Yes.
Like people are posing with their kicks. He was posing with like Sean Smith's plush toys that are adorable. He's a really interesting person.
So I'm just going to put this out there. I can't do this right now because I'm busy interviewing. But if any of y'all in chat can Google Lupe Fiasco Shawnimals and see if there are any of these great pictures out there, I would love to see them.
I'm sure there are like magazine spreads where he just insisted, no, that's what this magazine spread is going to be. Sean Smith, greatest Chicago artist, put in the magazine. He's like really weird. I mean, I like him.
Great. That is, I did not expect you as an interview guest to have quite the connection to both, well, Lupe and then fighting games through Lupe, but also your own connection, which we'll get to in a second. The premise for this podcast, for as long as I've been doing it, which has been about a month and a half, has basically been, I want to talk, I talk to cool people who are like really good at doing stuff because I want to break down more about how they got good at doing stuff and how they think about it, how they wrap their brains around, mostly creative challenges and so on. And it just so happened that like most of the people I know in video games or elsewhere have some connection to fighting games. And so right. the kind of the story tangle, the story tangle. I'm going to save that for something else. The
It's
storytelling
beautiful.
angle I normally take is, let's start by talking about fighting games, and let's talk about other stuff, because hopefully the conversation around fighting games can either set up or dovetail or somehow lead to the other stuff that you're good at. And I remember when I met you, I think it was GDC Online 2012, right? Is the last one? That was when I met you? I believe we met in the TGI Fridays.
Oh, is it here in Austin?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's and I live in Austin now. That's right. We went out to TGI Fridays and I felt just like an instantaneous connection with you, man, because we were all over those apps.
Yeah.
And they weren't even endless apps
No,
back
but
then.
but
They
you
were
were
like
you were
regular kind.
you were open to the prospect of sharing a like sampler platter with someone
Oh,
who's basically a complete stranger, and I knew right then, I was like, oh, she's good people. I need to know this
yeah,
one.
we're going to, if you need a partner to, don't go on a shitty culinary adventure alone, for one thing. That's like drinking alone. It's not acceptable socially. And so I was, yeah, absolutely game for that right there with you. Did you find a splitter? Is that why?
Find the split. Where's your?
I you can rummage around down there. Headphone cases up there.
I'll check just that.
Leave me to it, honey.
For those of you who don't know who the what did we call him, the small rummaging man in the
A
background?
small rummaging man, and I instantly regretted calling Ted that because he's neither particularly small nor, no, I guess he is a rummager though. He like is always digging around for something. I think it just means that we're not very well organized, Ed.
Well, among other things, he most recently worked on Read Only Memories, which is a great game that you should check out. But one of the things that I was surprised to learn about you was that you had that Tekken connection, right? Because
Right.
normally I don't find that many people who kind of work in like the broader games industry to have a strong fighting game connection. I'm always pleasantly surprised when I do. But I remember you setting me straight that you were quite the Tekken player back in the day. Like, tell me about that. How'd you get into Tekken? Why Tekken? Why not the superior Street Fighter? And so on and so on.
Oh, well, no, it's interesting. I think for a long time I actually preferred 3D fighters. So Tekken and Soul Calibur, the only game with weapons, I believe,
Yeah.
is its claim to fame. Actually, it was because of TA, my freshman year of college, who eventually got thrown out of the building for drinking with students. But he was
Like during class, or
no, like in the dorm.
Okay.
I'm sorry, not a TA. What is it? An RA,
okay.
or residential advisor, not a teacher's assistant.
Right.
Sorry. Our RA was, I don't know, like this really sweet, funny dude who played Tekken with me all the time and eventually was too cool to be an RA and got thrown out. And he was instantly replaced by this really serious meathead graduate student. And we'd never had like an RA who was also a graduate student before.
Oh, man.
So like this really old meathead
Ugh.
guy moves in, and it turns out he's like a very serious literature grad student. Did you ever see The Party Down, where Martin Starr's character is like insulting a football player who, it turns out, not only has read a ton of Isaac Asimov but also everything? And yeah, don't insult that guy ever. It's like, so he was the what I'm saying is a superior RA moved in, but did not play Tekken with us.
Gotcha.
He was really into, you know,
I mean, Tekken
getting his graduate degree.
Well, Tekken, getting your new RA to play Tekken with you probably would have made him, like loosen up a little bit, maybe bond, start cracking some beers open with you guys. It also almost definitely would have interrupted his graduate study.
Right.
I know lots of fighting game players who had promising academic trajectories that were then ruined by fighting games. So
That's why my mother did not want me playing video games in college. That is exactly why. And I packed my Atari 2600. She was like, "What is that? You're going to play games instead of studying." And I was like, probably not Berserk. It is probably not going to be what throws me off. No, I was super into Tekken. and I really liked Lay not Law. Is that right? The drunken fighting master.
Right.
God, that was gorgeous, and it was a lot more complicated movements, and it was really hard to beat people because he was like the least cheap character. It was all ballet. No, I was training hard my freshman year of college, and I ended up becoming more of a 2D fighter person. I think a lot of people transitioned over when Marvel versus Capcom 2 was really big. And so I ended up being really into Darkstalkers.
Okay.
And then Guilty Gear, the Guilty Gear series. And so now Blaze Blue.
Okay. That's an amazing path to take. So like Darkstalkers, and it's kind of funny how coherent that is, because Darkstalkers is what would consider like the genesis of what we now refer to as like the anime genre of fighting games that Guilty Gear and Blaze Blue encapsulate, right? And there's and they share a design pedigree, right, in terms of like emphasizing air mobility, turning the kind of the combos and the damage up to 11, getting far more creative with like transformations in terms of animations and stuff like that.
One step I left out too, which is actually the Marvel Capcom. Sorry, there's a missing link there, which is Super Puzzle Fighter 2.
Nice.
Which is the mashup of Capcom and Darkstalkers characters.
Right.
And so, I don't know. It's a really seamless progression. And I think a big part of why I moved in that direction is because 3D fighting games piss me off. I get really mad and like throw things when people beat me at Tekken.
Yeah.
But I don't get mad like during Guilty Gear.
Right.
Because that game is so sick, right? And so I don't get angry. I'm just like, because people are like, and you're like, no. And it's not like, oh, fuck me, I should have stepped out of the way. I should have sidestepped, and I should have, where was I there? Right. Oh, this is bullshit. You've got me against the wall now. In 3D fighters, you're like against the ropes, and you're like, oh, fuck you, cheap, fuck no. and so I really don't like being pissed off all the time.
Yeah.
So I don't play Tekken anymore. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to be an angry person.
Right.
So I stopped playing Soul Calibur.
Interesting. There's something to be said for like what causes frustration in a competitive experience, right? Because frustration isn't just I lost. Right. I remember reading, I think it was a design article in GD Mag from a couple of years ago, where someone was contrasting like the approach, like different approaches to board games, and you have like a European school of board game design, which is more about like building yourself up, or your base, or your whatever it is, right? And progress is defined by your ability to build faster than your opponent, or build in a strategically more interesting and viable way. And this is, I guess like you look at stuff like maybe, I don't know if like something like Ticket to Ride kind of fits in here, right? Where you're not destroying something of your opponent's, right?
Right.
And you contrast that to like StarCraft, where it feels really bad to lose a base. It feels really bad to take a step backwards, right?
Right.
Even if the outcome is the same, you lose the game either way. There's one design which is more conducive to a certain kind of frustration than another, right? And so I wonder what it is about Tekken that made you get saltier than Guilty Gear. Certainly there's an aesthetic appeal to getting wrecked in Guilty Gear, where you're like, it feels like you deserve the L, right? Like,
right. It's it's beautiful, and the moves are less based in reality, aren't they? Like this is cartoon violence that like and there's just stuff. Maybe part of it is that I'm actually not that good at Guilty Gear. Like, not as good at Guilty Gear, but enjoy it more.
Sure.
And sometimes when you take something to the face, you're like, well, I couldn't have dodged that. That's ridiculous. That's hilarious. You know what I mean? There's also the aspect that game is hilarious.
Yeah.
And Tekken isn't funny.
Yeah.
Unless you're a giant bear.
Right.
Like, unless you're a giant bear, Tekken is not funny. It's weird that it only has like moments of whimsy in that way. But Yeah, 2D fighters are 100% whimsical, a
I
thousand.
I I,
Like,
th- I I think you're onto something there actually because I remember like early on playing Tekken and Virtua Fighter,
mhm.
some of the appeal those games had was like, oh, it's more realistic than Street Fighter, right?
Right,
Where like that somehow that these games would be better at preparing you for an actual fight than Street Fighter because they feature a third dimension and there's usually no fireballs and whatever, right?
right.
And obviously that's ludicrous, but I would suspect that maybe in Tekken you feel like any punch feels like it should be dodgeable, and if you're not able to dodge it or block it or whatever, that
Right.
stresses the lack of connection you have to the character you're controlling, right? There.
That's interesting. I was going to say it's more of a human failing, but that might mean that I connect a little bit too much with my Tekken character.
I
I don't
mean,
know.
that's kind of awesome though. Certainly, it's when like the trope for the classic kind of competitive fighting game players that these games are nothing but like collision boxes to us
Right.
at a certain point,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. That's
Um,
super interesting. But yeah,
but and we like to believe that, but I think there's a lot more to the connection between the player and the character than we've really unpacked because it's more than just that, right? Like for me, I know Ryu represents more than just a set of boxes. Like it's there's almost like an ethos, and part of my identity is what it means to be a Ryu player, and so on and so on.
so Tekken is. Do you remember? I think it was the Matrix, the third one,
Hmm.
the third Matrix movie.
I've tried to forget the second and third, but go for it.
And I actually am in the minority, I think, because I remember anyway,
Yeah,
really liking the third one
hmm,
and not the second one.
sure.
And uh, that was because they did something really interesting, which was take Neo back out of the
Hmm.
Matrix and in the real world where things aren't glossy. And I think they really did a good job of aesthetically underscoring this, where it's all just brutal, squishy punches and beating people with pipes. In the real world, I don't know if you remember this, Neo gets the shit kicked out of
Right.
him because although he can fight in the Matrix, we'll call that guilty gear. He can't fight in Tekken.
Right.
And I think Tekken is just, yeah, it's just less whimsical. It's not magical.
Hmm.
Tekken is not a magical universe. It's just where it's all scrappy. Visceral is the word that I want,
Yeah.
maybe.
I
And
mean, even
it
the
appealed
control
to me.
scheme, right? Like the control scheme is mapped to your actual limbs. You have a left
Right.
punch and a right punch. It's
That's
not
right.
like light, medium, heavy, or attack, guard, kick, or like punch, guard, kick, right?
Uh-huh.
It's like it is explicitly the strongest in terms of trying to like make you feel like you are that person, right?
Hmm. That's interesting. Yeah, and so I guess I was interested in that when I was 18. And I want to say 18 and that was whimsical because I wasn't getting into any sort of physical altercations, but
Sure.
that's completely not true. When I was a kid, I was in fights all the time.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, like with
Um,
who?
Other kids.
Yeah.
I just try to. Anyway,
You no, you can't do that to me. Like, was it like kind of typical child bullshit? Was it like enforcing schoolyard dominance? Were you like, beating people up and taking their lunch money? Were they taking your lunch money? And also like, how did you fight? Were you like pulling hair and dropping elbows and shit?
I was in trouble all the time until probably sixth grade, is what I'm saying.
Why are you so fucking cool? Holy shit!
No, I got sent to detention for a fight in the girls' bathroom. I got into this huge fight with the librarian's son and back in the principal's office again. This
I
girl,
I
this
want to
girl who was
believe that you fought over
getting
like literature or something.
this girl, no way. No, yeah, that's not. I was thinking about this today. I was thinking about school day fights
Hmm.
today because the first girl who ever like dragged me, I was the one who was first dragged kicking and screaming into fights. And then it was like something uncorked and I was having my own fight club every day. Um, the girl who threw rocks at me, and so
Oof.
I was just like, I'm gonna kill you, and came out. We're Facebook friends now, and she's marrying another girl, and so I was thinking about her today.
Yeah.
That's so funny the way the world works. She used to throw rocks at me, and I tried to kill her, like, and so.
Teen, teenager life is real, man. I
Oh,
feel like
this is elementary school.
oh,
Like by the time
even
I was
better.
a teen, I I
Settle down a
I
bit.
I definitely had a reputation as a teenager for being like a goody two shoes, studious little Nancy, and even I was kind of shocked by that. Like, where did that come from? Because I was at a time notorious for being in the principal's office every day of my life.
Oh my god. I I never would have guessed, but I do feel that there's a certain it's not as surprising as I would think, right? You have a certain grit to the way you carry yourself, which I feel like it doesn't mean you got in a lot of fights as a kid, but it means that you could have gotten a lot of fights as a kid.
I was and am extremely maladjusted, like as a human being. And I've tried to definitely like smooth over that. I think part of trying to be a functional adult is definitely the being a functional adult part. Like that's really hugely important. And so I definitely, and this is why I say it, like that's why I just stopped enjoying Tekken.
Yeah.
I don't want to throw things and get mad. And if I just have to stay away from activities that make me that, then so be it. You have to like trick yourself into being good, I think. And so it's guilty gear, and I don't mind having my ass handed to me in guilty gear. It's a good feeling. And I don't know, I'm trying to be a better person in all things, and I've been working on it so hard since like the 5th grade.
That is I think we'll have to come back to that later in that interview because in general the process of self-improvement is something that fascinates me, and that's kind of what underlies all pretty much everything that I've tried to talk about on this stream show is like trying to unpack the different ways that we all try and grow as people. Fighting games did that a lot for me, both in terms of giving me a skill set, but also in terms of giving me a repeatedly humbling experience, right?
Yeah, sure.
And I know it doesn't do that for other people. I know plenty of people who just like for them fighting games is also an incredibly rage-inducing experience, and so either they learn how to deal with it and that becomes part of their growth, or their way of dealing with it is let's not go there, at least until I'm ready, and let's go find something else, right? Like, let's acknowledge when there might be something unhealthy or something negative, something I don't want to deal with right now, right? I think either of those are perfectly valid ways of growing up and becoming functional adults. But fundamentally, the fact that becoming a functional, healthy, less maladjusted adult is one of those things that you're into, I think, is one of the reasons why as soon as I started doing the stream show, I was like, oh, I need to talk to Jenn.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm actually a self-help junkie, and I think I've like internalized so much conflicting information at this point just from having read a little too much. I don't know. I might be a bigger mess than before. I don't know, but it's definitely an interest, self-improvement.
So I am curious then, like with fighting games, the road to self-improvement is at least somewhat concrete, right? Like you have this game, you need to study it, and how you study it, like especially when Tekken came out, or even now, like we're not good at teaching people how to learn fighting games, but we do know when you play them, oh, this stuff requires work, right? Like you can see the tip of the iceberg, and then once you get bodied for the first time by someone who knows what they're doing, you get to see, oh, this goes down pretty deep. And so I'm interested, like, what was it that so the context being that like most of the people that I know in fighting games are people who stuck around, right? Like we're competitors. That's a thing we did because we got bit by the bug and it kind of never let us go. And I'm always really interested to see people who engaged pretty deep, like deep enough to know to be more than just hitting buttons, right? But then they stopped. So like why'd you stop?
Well, it's like so that's one of my worst qualities is I am a quitter anytime something frustrates me.
Sure.
And I think you wanted to talk a little bit about writing, and I hate to say this, but sorry, I'm getting over a little flu.
All good.
It's one of those things where I think it was what I ultimately stuck with because it was the thing I was best at, and
Yep.
I didn't want to challenge at all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also, I don't, I don't enjoy competing at
Sure.
anything because I'm an extremely competitive person.
Sure.
And this just ties back into like the rage inducing. I don't like feeling cutthroat
Mm-hmm.
and I don't like feeling bad. And so this is a story. The other thing that I did all through my childhood and right up through college was acting.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that I was resolute about not majoring in college because I didn't want to have to be around actors.
Yup.
Um, and that sounds like such a nasty thing to say, but I don't like competing in that way. And I remember I was leaving a workshop. Everyone was sitting behind talking shit about a classmate.
Yeah.
And I remember what is it? No, we weren't, were we leaving or coming? I may have like walked in and sat down on this. And I just said, oh, days like these, I'm so glad I didn't stay with acting. Those people are so catty. And the whole room was like, oh, thanks, Jen. Yeah, yeah. Writers are the worst. So yeah, I like traded up
Yeah.
for I didn't mean to. I thought it would be part of the self-improvement thing where you become better as a person if you're writing. Not worse.
I I love Twitter in part because it is, it's a medium that was designed for writers, right? Like, it is.
Presumably.
Well,
Yeah, but yeah.
I mean, insofar as like I look at chat and Snapchat, I'm like, I don't understand this shit. Like, I communicate with words, and it's something which goes back to like me feeling comfortable online when it was mostly text and chat rooms and BBSs and stuff like that, right? I kind of feel like anyone who came from that generation of the internet, like all of us, just kind of learned to be better writers because that was the only way that we could really reliably express ourselves and communicate, because images just took forever to load and video was like this far off dream and whatever. But I love Twitter in part because writers are better at being, I think, well, it's the medium for writers to be catty at each other too, right? Like,
yeah.
subtweets are a thing that I'm sure we invented. Like,
oh yeah. A college writers workshop is if a whole 45 minutes could be subtweets back and forth across the table.
So if we can stand on that for a second, though, that's actually interesting to me because I didn't learn how to write like through any kind of real formal education. And we've talked about this before, but my writing tends to be a little bit more kind of explanatory in nature, I guess. Like I write the way that I talk, and it was because I learned how to write through debate, and then through writing.
Were you a debater?
I was.
Like a high school debater?
Yep, Lincoln Douglas
debate. Did you go
debate.
to tournaments?
I did.
Oh my god! Oh my god! That is so dorky.
Oh yes.
That's a little nerdier than the drama kids, because we did drama debate.
Right.
And we would go to tournaments, which is Jared Padalecki. That's how I know that guy.
Gotcha.
He used to compete against that guy, and he's coming back to Gilmore Girls, is what's big in the news. I'm just going to name drop people and tell you the bizarre ways that I've just run across people in my wild, varied life. That is interesting.
So
I don't know if that's good or bad for writing. Josh Gad, actor on the up and up. He was in the movie Pixels. Won Nats oratory, NFL Nats, the year that I went, and so I had to compete against that guy too.
Wait, so did you went to nationals in oratory?
Yeah.
Nice. What year was that?
probably 1998, and it was an
Gotcha.
oratory about hate speech online and the
Ah.
Southern Poverty Law Center.
Wow.
Uh, so I
I,
was,
I, I went to nationals in 2003 for Lincoln Douglas, and
that's right, because you're a baby. Because
yes.
at that point I was about to graduate college.
And I remember the last round of my debate career was basically I called my opponent a racist, and then more or less like mic dropped. It was fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah.
So were you right?
Well, so it's hard to say for sure. In part because Lincoln. So I went to a school that was really well known for its policy debate.
Wow.
And for those of you who are watching the stream and have no fucking idea what we're talking about, policy debate is, as the name suggests, it's focused on matters of policy, and it's grounded very much in the real world and weighing implications of this decision versus this other decision based off of possible real world impacts. And to do so, you kind of team up in groups of two. You read through a lot of evidence very, very quickly. Lincoln Douglas debate is more value driven. It's supposed to be modeled after the debates between Lincoln and Douglas, and it doesn't get as out of the box. So the thing that I was jealous about of my policy debate team is that they get to deal with like postmodern critique all over the place. It's like if you're not running super crazy theory critiques, like critiquing the way the rules of debate are set up, critiquing like the kind of the words and the diction that your opponents use, like all kinds of stuff. If you're not running that stuff by the time you're a sophomore, you're like chump change, right? Like you're not playing with the good tech. And in LD debate, we never really got to do as much of that. So I tried running a half-assed, basically racism K. I forget what the topic was. The judge didn't give it to me, but I was super satisfied, and I was also like, it's been 4 years, I'm done. Time to get out of here. I want to eat some nachos. Actually, it was I want to play some Street Fighter because I competed at the national level. I was never that good, though. I did take out a few people who would later go on to win tournaments far more prestigious than I ever did. But everyone in the debate community knew me as the guy who played Street Fighter on his laptop. But yeah, so what I was trying to get to was I learned how to write mostly through debate, and then later through like writing about video games online. I never really had a writer's workshop environment, and so the idea of that seems super interesting to me because I would contrast it to like an arcade, a local arcade, where everyone is simultaneously in competition, but we're trying to get better because the more meaningful competition are the people who come outside the arcade. But I have no idea what it's like to work with other writers in a ostensibly like communal environment like that, right? So tell me.
Oh, I'll tell. No, and you just pinged. I know the story that I want to tell you. What is his name? Dan Schown, visiting writer. Dan Schown. You just reminded me of this. So I was going to say, yeah, it's weird, especially since you don't know if a professor really wants to mentor you or sees you as future competition and wants to crush you. Oof. Like, and oh my God, it was amazing. Professor Bouldry told all of us that visiting writer Dan Schown was coming to the school. So to get, this is an invaluable resource. He's written all of these books. He graduated from Northwestern and I believe married his writing professor. Very interesting. Oof. Yeah, interesting.
So is that crushing the competition, or?
Oh well, that's different. His personal life isn't mine to talk about, but the professor definitely brought that up, and all of us were like, "Ooh," and tittering. Anything could happen, and life is a journey. Excuse me, I've got another frog building. Our professor tells us, Dan Schown, invaluable resource. Definitely pull out your worst draft to show him so that he can really help you tighten the whole thing up. So I did. I scheduled a meeting time with him. Everyone in the class did, and in the major did. And someone said to me, "Really? You saved your worst work for Dan Schown? Jen, everyone's giving him their best stuff." And I was like, Oh my God. Like, I totally took it. I'm so naive. And I totally took it at face value that
Mm-hmm.
you should definitely show the visiting writer your worst draft
Mm-hmm.
so he can help you. And everybody knew that that was a lie.
Yeah.
To show a visiting writer your best. So I came in with my worst draft.
You know, it's
He
funny.
loved it.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Loved it. I was trying to write horror, actually. If you want to know about my little undergrad fiction writing days, I was trying to write horror. Um, he loved it, and but ran out of critiques to make. I remember all my classmates stared in horror because Dan Chown and I were just hanging out outside of the building, having given up on talking about it,
Mm-hmm.
talking about my work. We were just smoking cigarettes and talking about what comics we were into right now, because we were both into comics with an X, I should say. Literary comics
Right.
where you talk about your innermost feelings. None of this X-Men stuff. Anyway, oh, I don't know if you want a little bit of literary dirt, but Dan Chown was not nice to everybody and actually said to one of my classmates, um, I don't even know why you're in writing. This isn't
Woo.
fiction. And that kid actually had a movie script that he wrote that did the film festival circuit and
Okay.
is a known quantity.
Sweet.
Has been on lists of like most promising screenwriters. So the moral here is if you do get in a fight with like a visiting mentor guy who shows up to it doesn't mean anything, like
Mhm.
obviously the one person's opinion. That's the other amazing thing. It's so competitive, and one person's opinion doesn't mean shit.
Right.
And I don't know, what a weird. I'm not in publishing in the traditional sense, but a lot of the people that I went to school with are like Karen Russell is what is she, like, nominated for a Pulitzer, was it? That is a classmate of mine from undergrad. And I am so comfortable in games journalism because the publishing world is like
Yeah.
that. I don't think I could barely handle the stress that we're under. And I'm just like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
So I'm curious when it comes to showing your worst draft to the visiting writer in residence or whatever they're called. Is that does that actually like remove you from the perspective from the oh, this person could be future competition field? Like this is something, and bear with me here, this is something that I've noticed with I've trained Brazilian jiu-jitsu for a long time, and I've gone to many different gyms because I haven't been in one place for that long, right? It was like training at the same gym for 4 years, then moving to the Bay and training there, going to Japan, training there, back to the Bay, but at a different gym, blah, 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 blah. And there's a certain psychology that new instructors have where they feel like if you don't open up like if you don't have obvious flaws, or if your game, the way you understand it, isn't something that they can contribute to, they'll feel less investment in you as a student. So like, and this can manifest itself in like, if I just ranked up to a new rank, let's say I went from blue belt to purple belt, and my old instructor gave me my purple belt before I left, then I represent myself to the new school as, oh, I just got promoted, I'm a purple belt from so-and-so. And they look at me
Right.
and they think, oh, that means that he needs to be here for like 3 years before he ranks up under me, right? And which means that perceived investment is in a student is very, very different, right? So like if I perform like a little bit worse, they might be more inclined to kind of take me under their wing and feel like they had a very strong investment in my development.
Oh, you think Dan Chown might have been my ultimate mentor because I really came in with a flawed piece of work.
Yeah. And you know, maybe part
Well,
of
I
it.
didn't cash in on that. I tried. I like followed and unfollowed and followed and unfollowed him on Twitter, trying to get him to like remember me and follow me back. I don't think he came away with any investment whatsoever. But you are right. Twitter's for writers, and that's what writers do. Is like fucking. I follow all my favorite. What like Sheila Hetty is one of who else do I follow on Twitter? Joanna Fateman, who is best known for being a band member in La Tigra. But the reason I know of her is because she was really well known for her zines.
Nice.
When I was in high school. And so I bought a bunch of her zines. And that's actually how she met the Kathleen Hanna Bikini Kill person. Sorry. Was through a zine that she had made. And writers are on Twitter and they never use it. Except Anne Lamott, who periodically posts something kind of inflammatory, but inoffensive. Every once in a while. And who's the other who wrote Foxfire and Joyce Carol Oates.
Really?
On Twitter?
Yeah.
Did you see? And she was like, it's terrible what they're doing to like a screenshot of like a Jurassic Park dinosaur or something. She's like, when will the killing end? And it was like an animatronic.
I'm curious. I feel like games writers, by and large, we came to this, or many of us came to this because we loved games, and then we were like, well, can't code, can't art, can't music. Find something. Hey, writing sounds like a thing. Let's learn how to do it, right? And you were one of the few people I've met who has an anchor and a background in like writing as it exists outside of video games. Like I feel like there's lots of people in the industry who've been working here for like 5, 6, 10 years, but we don't really peek out a whole lot, right? And even me with my work, like a lot of it is I'll model it off instructional writing that I find elsewhere, but like I'm certainly not as much a scholar of the craft or of the industry of writing as it exists than you are. Is it strange to feel like, I mean, I look at you from kind of the big picture and I think, oh, Jenn Frank is one of the people who actually knows what the rest of the writing world is like. Like, do you just walk around and you're like, oh, everyone else here is like, they're writing their news posts and occasionally they'll try and do something that they feel is new or novel, and they don't realize that everything has been done before, and probably music journalism did it better or whatever, right? Like, do you ever get the feeling like you're a big fish in an incredibly small and mostly illiterate pond?
That's hilarious.
For people who are listening to the podcast, she's giving me an exasperated sigh.
No, I think that games writing, it's entirely the reverse. I want games writing to be known outside of our insular bubble by the rest of the world. I want it to be respected, and I want you to talk about a games journalist in the same way you talk about a music journalist or a book reviewer. It's the same thing. And I think I did feel that way. I remember when I started writing little serial box top reviews for EGM, I was horrified when they had to put my last name on things. They changed my name on One Up from Jenn X to Jenn Frank, and now people had my real name.
Oh, man.
And I felt crushed, devastated. Now I would never have, this is how I felt, now I would never have my literary career, now that people knew that I was running around doing these video game reviews. Like, that's how I felt about our industry and writing. Like, oh, how embarrassing. So that's how I felt when I was also like 23 and a real shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
And I definitely have like dreams and aspirations. Oh my God. But I also feel like I have no No, I don't feel that way. I think we are surrounded by great writers,
Yeah.
and I could just start listing them. Simon Parko, as
Ah.
he hates to be called, writes about video games for The New Yorker.
Hmm.
I have a rejection from The New Yorker from when I was, I believe, 12. My dream was to write for the New Yorker. Simon is living my best life.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about him. He is breaking a type of writing out into the mainstream. The New Yorker is an amazing audience. He's already doing it. He is living my dream, literally my dream. I have had a subscription to the New Yorker ever since I was a brat child. A brat, the only brat child with a New Yorker subscription. That was me. Insufferable. No friends. Insufferable. And I sent in a piece of short fiction, and I got the loveliest letter back with suggestions for improvement. And I was crushed, not realizing what an amazing solid someone was. Just like, look at this little Max Fisher from Rushmore person, like sending letters from her mother. Obviously doesn't know that she's been sending submissions to the New Yorker from her little suburb in Texas. I am going to write her a real rejection letter with suggestions for improvement. I wish I could find it. It's got to be somewhere. Maybe I threw it out because I was devastated, right. But it's like the most amazing gift. Failure is the most amazing gift to, especially to a 12-year-old, especially to an egomaniacal 12-year-old. Like, yeah. So no, your question is it a big fish in a small pond thing? I mean, no, I'm surrounded by better writers, and Matt Burns is one, Simon Parkin, Lee, obviously, who just can coast if she wants to. Like, she doesn't have to try, and her turns of phrases are like, sometimes I'm just blown away. A lot of people in writing are dry. They have they have journalism backgrounds.
Right.
A lot of people in video games journalism don't have degrees, which is fine. I think it's great to be an autodidact. I also didn't even want to go to college myself. Mm-hmm. I said to my mom, I don't want to go to school. You know what you could do with that money? You could buy me a house, and I will sit in it for 4 years and write you the great American novel. And she was like, no, you're going to college. And after 2 years, I was like, well, I've decided to major in fiction writing. And she was just like, oh.
So one way to parse that question that I asked earlier was like, from a skills perspective, do you feel like a big fish in a small pond? And I think your answer is generous to the rest of us. But I am curious, do you think it's weird that it seems like games journalism is almost like its own island? Like it is this, like, I don't know. I feel like especially when I speak to our peers, and the people you've listed are all fantastic, and I think they actually have pretty strong connections to what the rest of the writing world looks like. But I'm thinking more of like, there's some poor schmuck out there who just started his first day of his internship at IGN or whatever, right? And he probably won't read anything that's not video game related for 6 years. Like, is that strange to you? And in your own development, how as a games writer, like how far afield did you look outside of games to find inspiration and like kind of techniques for leveling up your craft and so on?
We really made our own monster. Mm-hmm. Because when you say IGN, you're describing a website that's a product.
Yeah.
And Pitchfork, although a known commodity, is really not a product in the way something like IGN is. A lot of people don't want us to talk about games differently. They don't want it to look like music journalism. What they want is a product that they can consume and feel good about. which is great, and I get that. Games, and well, what it's because of. I write. This is because that's better. Games are coming from enthusiast press. Rolling Stone hasn't been thought of as enthusiast press for forever. Remember how that was a music magazine and it
Yeah.
publishes like serious journalism? So they've already gone that route. Maybe Games doesn't want its own Rolling Stone, but um, enthusiast press is necessarily insular. When you say video games as enthusiast press, what it's really similar to is makeup,
Okay.
beauty bloggers, makeup tutorials on YouTube. This is extremely niche. And I'm not saying that I believe that in the future there will be great beauty journalism. I'm sure there's great fashion journalism,
Yeah.
but I don't think like it's not going to be beauty blogging.
Sure.
That's what enthusiast press is.
Yeah.
Is I got sent these samples and I'm going to do an unboxing video for you guys and I'm going to this lipstick is so creamy and it's sumptuous on my I love it. That's what a lot of people want video games journalism to keep being also.
Yeah.
That's what this niche enthusiast, that's fine. I obviously am saying all of this because I hang out on beauty blogs all the time and look at makeup tutorials all the time and absolutely use Pinterest that way. But I think if you're critiquing a piece of media seriously, you're not going to talk about it like it's lipstick.
Sure.
Whoa, what was the question?
Well, I mean,
why are we so insular?
Yeah.
Of course. And we're treating it's because we treat video games like we treat lipstick is what I'm saying. Lipstick is not informed by cinema, Patrick. Whether it's good, I can't be like, I remember seeing this lipstick on Audrey Hepburn, and actually you could do that. You could like write an ode to you could write the first great piece of makeup journalism, and it's like an ode to Chanel or Dior lipstick, right?
I really want to read that.
Yeah, I suddenly created, but that's what that's actually called is creative nonfiction.
Gotcha.
Or literary nonfiction. That's magazine writing. That's not. That's like I did not just invent makeup journalism just now. I described a creative nonfiction piece about.
As much as I'd like to say that's a stream first, though, I'll let it rock. You're right. You did not accidentally invent a new medium, but I. So close. Next time, it'll get you on the stream another time. You can invent more.
Grantland. Oh, and I'm so crushed about Grantland. But video games writing is actually, if it's like anything, what it's like is sports writing. That's its nearest analog, and I think Grantland was proof that sports writing and sports-related writing and some celebrity gossip blogging could be like really beautiful, good journalism, really beautiful long-form pieces. I don't know if people are going to ever want to read that stuff again.
That's unfortunate, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So one of the things that as a writer I've always looked up to you about is your fixation on the craft. And this goes back to the kind of the idea of being separated, is that a lot of people measure their success in games, as you said, in terms of like how our work turns into a product, right? Well, did a lot of people consume this thing? Did it give them relevant information? Did they learn something new about this that they didn't otherwise do it? That's certainly the model in which a lot of us come up in, and are kind of that's how we're trained to basically to think about our work. And in no point in that evaluation does is this person a good writer? Are they putting good words together to make good sentences together to make good paragraphs and so on? Really enter the calculation. And in fact, I'd argue that most of the people who find a lot of success in our industry actually are not great writers, unless we know them specifically for being good writers, right?
Right.
Paradoxically, the sign of success in games journalism is that you make it out of games journalism and you use your skill in writing to do something else that is related to games. And that's, I mean,
yeah.
I'm like, you know, exhibit A right here, right?
You Tom Bissell your way out.
Yes.
That's the dream.
But I felt like you have always had, and perhaps this is from kind of your formal training and your devotion to the craft, as well as just you know, alongside your devotion to games, is that you've had a really strong handle on like what makes a good writer and then how a good writer can become better. And that's not something that I've found in a lot of editorial environments that I've worked in, right? Or if, you know, again, it's looking at writing from the eye of product and success in that terms versus the craft.
Ted, bring me my books. Excuse me, one moment. We're in my office right now, and I have library bookcases. Why don't you start with... I have some recommendations for you. Hand me the portable MFA.
I'll totally admit I was just dual twitching. I was watching you guys.
Apparently, Lupe Fiasco is beating Daigo. What the fuck?
That's what Ted is saying. Yeah, give me there. That's good. That's one. Maybe I need you to stand right there.
Okay.
So, anyone who tells you that writing cannot be taught is a bald-faced liar. Mm-hmm. It is true that the foundation for good writing is a good ear. Musical writing is he won. I'm just seeing the Twitch chat.
Yeah.
Thank you, Burly Girly. If you are writing, you are a musician transcribing. Oh, I actually love transcribing, by the way, transcribing interviews, because there's a way you can punctuate. This actually comes from the stage stuff.
Yeah.
This is from theater, looking at scripts and seeing how you punctuate human language. And the back and forth, like how you would make something sound natural out loud. I don't know. It's all part of one big. Anyway, writing can be taught. Good. Have a musical ear. Cultivate that. Learn how punctuation is like notating music, and you can give sentences or dialogue rhythm. But from there, because that's not enough. So one good book that I recommend. One thing I've always lamented is I didn't get my master's after all. Both my parents got really sick. I did not. I hate not having a master's degree. I beat myself up over it every day. That's really classist and corny to say, but I wanted my master's so bad. What I'm holding here in my hands is the portable MFA in creative writing. And this is one of the most impressive books I have ever. How the business works. Read. Learning the markets. There's a chapter 2 is personal essay and memoir. Chapter 1 is fiction and Sorry, a card flew out of this book suddenly. I'd marked something, and it's from my Aunt Renee. She sent it to my adoptive parents. Please give my best to Jennifer, and if she would like to get in touch. My phone number, she sent me her phone number and email is why I kept this. So my parents have now passed away, and I've actually become very close with my Aunt Renee. And also this information on this card is up to date. So I'm just like, yeah, sorry, I didn't. That happens. It turns out that I have pieces of correspondence like crammed into all of my books. So if I die, like shake all of them and see if anything important falls out before you burn my belongings.
I'm just gonna gone home your house.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Though basically, Chapter 5 is playwriting. Chapter 4 is actually poetry. Chapter 3 is magazine writing. It's this incredible survey course that's written by professors.
Wow.
And it's can't all go to Iowa Writers Workshop. That's all I'm saying. Like, so that's a good one. Do you want, I can make other recommendations too for honing your craft. Let's see.
So I'm like I guess the broader question I want to ask is, did you hone your craft like when you
Reading?
think of how you level up? Yeah, did you do it from reading? Did you do it from reading good writing? Did you read a lot about writing? Like I feel like the market for people learning to read about how to be better writers is probably pretty big. Like is that your predominant mode of study, right? And
No,
also I
the
guess
only way you
related.
can.
Related is, how do you identify weaknesses in your writing?
There's a book about that. No, this book thing is more to do with my fixation on self-help.
Aha.
Every writing tutorial book is actually a self-help book. The real way you learn to write is by reading people, not by reading books on how to write.
Okay.
My first short story is written in crayon, and it is titled The Star Fairy. Um, and it's about a little girl who rides away with her family from their troubles on the back of a winged Arnold Schwarzenegger. I was 5 years old when I wrote it, and obsessed with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I guess I believed my whole family could fit on his broad, muscular back. Um, I have not stopped writing. That's probably my first story. Oh, we got Storybook Weaver on, the first computer when I was 11.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was great. Someone is phoning me right now. Who would be phoning?
I'm hoping it's your Aunt Renee watching the stream.
It's not. But it is someone in San Francisco.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know. I wish they would stop. I've finally done it. I have finally dismissed a phone call from my Pebble. Like the day finally happened where I could do that. Um, no, I used to write for fun. I would take it to school and show it off. I had a favorite reader, Alicia, who I'm still Facebook friends with. I think my life really changed when we got an internet-capable computer in 1993. I was writing all the time and sharing it. And by the time I was 14, I'd found like a huge community of, but it was before that too. Like it was like nobody on the internet, nobody knows that you're a dog. On the internet, no one knew that I was an 11-year-old girl. I got very proficient at typing very quickly because I would play Mavis Beacon for fun. And so I just zoomed onto, and I was just like, I'm going to be a poet, and like posting my poetry on Prodigy. And I was writing newsletters and taking them to school, and like in elementary school, and like I was reviewing teachers' classes, and that's the other thing, like, and food. I was reviewing the cafeteria food.
Uh-huh.
I remember, very funny. And people, yeah, is this a joke? And I was like, obviously, the senses of humor are not very cultivated at that age, and obviously, it's a joke. That through college, especially, I started writing reviews for literally everything. I had an ePinions account. Amazon started sending me free shit so that I would keep reviewing. I became obsessed with giving an opinion on everything, no matter how banal that item was. I have an incredibly popular Amazon review for the most amazing dish rack I have. It dries like, oh my God, it's life-changing. And I'm such a consumer. There are enough objects in my life where I'm like, it's life-changing. You need one. I recently transitioned to working with Pomodoro, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pomodoro.
I'd seen you mention a little bit about that, and I kind of wanted. Aha.
I finally got I shouldn't have done that. Now it's going to go off in 15 minutes. Just kidding.
Just kidding. It's going off right now.
No. Yep.
And so that was actually one of the things that fascinated me is I had seen other people work with it a little bit, and I know so the other thing is I'm always surprised when I find other people in games who shared a consumer tech background as well, right? Like, and you were one of the few people outside of the consumer tech journalism field, or at least at the time that I was in it, who would also nerd out about keyboards and laptops and how like your tech and your tools influence the way you work, right?
Absolutely. Oh, God damn it. Sorry, my brain is really chopped liver these days, which is part of why I switched to using a timer.
Gotcha.
And like I've got Trello and Todoist, and I use Post-its everywhere, and I'm very addled these days. I was invited to do an interview talking about my tools that I use to do work, the material tools, the software tools. I'm super into tools and talking about getting things done, GTD, more than I am actually getting things done. I love productivity so much. Oh my God. And I was supposed to be interviewed by this website that literally does profiles of creative people. And there are a lot of editors on there too. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. And I have not written back yet. I just completely forgot until this moment. And I'm like, oh, no. Well, the missing Post-it. I need one more Post-it up. Email this guy back. Well, I'm sorry I've been so crass on your stream, by the way.
No worries.
I get so cursy when I see you. I'm like, yay!
Yeah, fucking Patrick Miller. No, that's great. That's
exactly.
That's the kind of reaction I love to inspiring people. So give me a preview then, like of whatever ends up being the email that they publish on the thing. Like what is your setup? How did you get there, and why? Right? Because I'm someone for whom like obsessing over tools has been something I did as part of a job, but it wasn't something that influenced my own writing that much. So I want to look, and only recently have I started like creating timed breaks or timed periods for me to write in. I've been tracking like how many words did I write and at what time of the day and how long was the span that I took and so on. But I'm new to this, so I don't really know a whole lot of like kind of what this does for you. I'm but a novice in the ways of I guess cultivating productive habits, right? Like putting boxes for like time boxes or physical boxes or whatever for creative work. Like I'm new. What's the Jenn setup?
The best thing you can do when you actually need to crank something out is not be in your office at all and walk away. And he's still alive, that piece that I won for. I knocked it out on my underpowered netbook in one pass in a pub with like I think it took about 5 Guinnesses to write. And then I left.
Yeah.
And that's if you know how I have a mechanical Philco?
Yes.
So,
this is something we bonded over.
No, I actually have 2. And my other one is my Bluetooth one.
That's super rare, isn't it?
I don't know. I bought it on Amazon. And so this and my iPad come with me. And there's a great piece of software called Ulysses. Yeah. And if you need to bang something out, and if you need to bang it out loudly, that is how you do it. Sitting at a desk is horrible. You need to go out in public where people will leave you alone and bang it out there. Like I don't know how people work, to be honest. The only way I've been able to make myself work at my desk, right? I've been cultivating my perfect setup for ages now, and I hate it. I hate it more than anything. The Pomodoro timing myself is the only way I've been able to make myself get anything done.
Yeah. And what does that do for you? I guess for people who are unaware with the Pomodoro method, could you describe a little bit about it? And then I'd like to know what it does for you. So this is a kitchen timer. It
It's called Pomodoro because a lot of kitchen timers are shaped like tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's why it's called what it's called. Um, you set it for 25 minutes and you dedicate yourself to a task. And the ticking helps. Brock Wilbur made that point when he recently wrote about trying Pomodoro.
Mm-hmm.
Did you read his article for Inverse?
No, not
It's Pomodoro. Jenn Frank made me try Pomodoro, he wrote, which first of all is factually untrue. What he means is he saw me post about Pomodoro.
It's the idea of Jenn Frank.
And he
Trying
said that
Pomodoro forced him to try Pomodoro. I get it.
Ruining his life with productivity. So your 25 minutes end, and now you have a mandatory 5-minute break.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where, at the end of 25 minutes, I always have to piss like a racehorse. And I noticed that the Pomodoro technique is timed to align with my bladder.
Wow.
You get 5 minutes to do whatever you want. Now is a great time to. You can't brew an entire pot of coffee. You only get to run and do one step and pee and come back.
You get me to make you a pot of coffee before the time it perfectly.
You are not awake when I do Pomodoro, honey. No, that's not. And you do another 25 minutes. Then you take another 5-minute break. Then you do another 25 minutes. Then you take a 5-minute break. Then which one are we on? This is why you're supposed to like make tick marks.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you've done 4 25-minute stints, you take a 15-minute break.
Okay.
And then that now you can really like go have a cigarette if you're still a smoker. Really finish up that pot of coffee. Stretch your legs. Do a little jog around the apartment. And then you start over in your next set of 4 25-minute productivity periods. Forcing yourself to take mandatory breaks is incredibly important.
Yeah.
Because you don't get tired out.
Mm.
I found that it's a great way to maintain momentum and energy. And it gets to a point where during the 5-minute breaks, the 15-minute break especially, but also the 5-minute break, you realize the next thing you need to write down, and you start checking the clock because you don't want to forget,
Right.
and you're anxious to get back to work.
That's a good feeling.
So that you can get it down before you forget it. 5 minutes is a short enough period of time that you won't forget it. 15 minutes, which you get once an hour, however long, 2 hours, is incredibly good, because that's when things come to you in a rush. The way things come to it's like forcing yourself to have several of those toilet shower moments. and forcing yourself to stop means that the ideas will come to you faster, and you will start wanting to return to work as quickly as possible, and not being able to sit back down and resume until time is up is like maybe the best, most sinister part of the whole thing.
Sure.
That's why that's the carrot. The 5 minutes, waiting for the 5 minutes to become up, work becomes its own carrot. That's what it is. And it's fantastic.
So I'm curious then, what happens if you're like well into the first 25-minute split and you're still kind of like casting about, or you haven't hit your momentum or anything like that?
Then you have to stand up.
Gotcha.
Who's Jenn Frank?
We ask ourselves
Hi,
these questions.
That's great. Hi, my name is Jenn Frank. Currently, I'm an assistant editor at Paste magazine in the games section, a role previously held by Maddie Myers, who's now over at the Mary Sue, kicking ass and taking names on the reg. I've worked in the games industry this is year 11.
Woo.
So I'm turning 34 this year. I'm starting to become the worst thing you can be in video games, an old lady. Old before my time. So, yeah, I see. Yeah. Oh, but probably better known. Voice of Super
I
Hexagon.
was just about to bring that up. You are the
I have
voice of
my
my inadequacy and failure.
unframed. It's over there, and I've been begging Ted, begging.
I'll get this on Tuesday.
Really? Don't unroll it. Sorry. Don't unroll it until it gets framed. My BAFTA nomination is over there.
Aw.
And I'm trying to get better though at Ted, hand me the thing up there. I actually have my diploma on the wall behind me for good tortoise energy when I work. So I feel
Oh, I can't.
oh, can it not be removed?
It is
Well then don't
not.
remove it.
Yeah. It's completely stuck up there.
So I have my diploma and from high school.
Do you want me to move your camera?
No. Best all around girl 1999 to 2000. It's from high school. I got a plaque for being the best human female person at my high school. I have a plaque for it.
Well done.
Thank you. And I'm like so unbelievably proud of it. The first time I met Ted's mom, I almost brought it to give it to her. Like, I just want to be like, I want to reassure you, ma'am.
I'm okay.
I'm okay. Here's the plaque. But do you know why I didn't give it to her? Because I love it too much. Like, I'm so proud of it. I'm more proud of it than anything. The other thing I keep meaning to get framed is when I was so hurt by Gamergate, and I was just like, "Fuck this! I don't even know why I'm here. I'm gonna go get a Peabody." Rob Dubbin, who I forgot has a Peabody for working on the Colbert Report, sent me a photo of his Peabody with a piece of paper taped over it that says Jenn Frank.
Oh.
And during my darkest depression, I kept that as my phone wallpaper, my fake Peabody. And I printed it out recently, and I'm planning to get it framed.
Oh, yeah.
And hang it with my diploma and BAFTA nomination, and my best all-around girl from high school, so that when people are like, what is that? I could be like, that is a photograph of somebody else's Peabody with my name on it, as you can see. That was like the most special gift an acquaintance, a relative stranger has ever given me, is a photo of a Peabody with my name on it.
I just want to point out that only you, out of all the people I could ever hope to invite to this stream interview show, only you could get away with reciting the contents of your to-do list in a way that is not only interesting, but endearing. So kudos to you.
There's a certain level of neuroticism. I'm glad though. Anytime someone finds that type of anxiety charming, thanks a lot. Thank you.
So I'm curious about your experimentation with the Pomodoro method so far. That does not look like a happy face. What on earth is in that cup?
That is coffee from this morning.
Ah.
It has been on a warmer. You know that I went paleo. I'm
Yes.
all about self-improvement these days. This isn't milk that curdled in here.
Okay.
That's not milk
not
I'm
what it
looking
is.
at. And yeah, it turned out that almond milk, or maybe this is coconut milk. I'm not sure. I have two different creamers.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out it really...
Wow, it's just stuck to the straw there.
It is just bad. This is a big mug of bad. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn off my coffee heater. It's been on all day. Set down that piping hot business. Yeah, that's disgusting. What were you still asking me about the timer?
Yeah, so I mean, what I'm interested in is like, what?
Hang on, I just saw the Twitch chat. Thanks,
It's
honey.
Twitch chat is your husband offering to make you coffee. That is actually the nicest thing anyone has ever done in Twitch chat. So shout outs to you, Ted.
No, I'm glad. I'm glad. It's been, I've been married relatively a short time. Relatively recently, we were married. And Ted is my only happiness, Pat. I don't think I ever had joy in my life.
Well, that
Um,
makes up for you calling him a small rummaging man earlier.
I called him a small rummaging man, and we've repeated it 3 times, so it becomes truer each time you say it. I think no, he's a stand-up guy. I didn't think I would get married. It was not part of the self-improvement plan. Okay, I was looking out for number one. Life comes at you fast.
So, fuck Pomodoro. We can talk about this some other time. I'm actually at this point, and there we go with the vape. The kind of the last big chunk that I wanted to talk to you about today was actually pretty disorganized, but out of all the people who I've met in games and in work and in life, I feel like you've kind of run the gamut of formative adult experiences.
Right.
Like, you married, you've lost your parents.
Yep, both of them.
You've
Well,
gone,
no,
yeah,
I'm a double orphan. I call it double Batman. I was adopted.
right.
I lost my father when I was 10, and so my great aunt and great uncle adopted me. So I'm double Batman.
So you've lost a whole bunch of parents.
Yeah.
You've like gone through like kind of physical health issues. You've gotten the chance to kind of flex your wings and mature in a career far enough to figure out, or like to have to ask the question of like what's next, which some people never really get to. You've had to deal with like issues about finance and real estate and health and so on, right? Like whenever I think about someone who's gone through like major adult experiences, I can pretty much always add you to the list of whatever experiences it is I'm thinking about, right? And kind of in the back of my head, I think, oh man, if I ever want to know about like what it's like to go through this, that, or this other thing, I should ask Jenn about it. And I remember actually like one of the best times we hung out was like shortly after my divorce, and you just kind of talked me through like a lot of stuff. And I guess I'm wondering, like, having been through, and this is not kind of industry specific or anything. This isn't games. This is just talking about being people, right? Like, we in games work with people who are younger than us, right? Like at this point, you and I are kind of like middle-aged as far as games careers go, right?
Right.
And that shows no signs of stopping. Like, this can be as generic or specific a question as you'd like to answer, but like, what kind of do you wish you knew, or what would you tell other people? Not just because they're coming into games, right? But just like, how would you prepare someone to go through all the shit you've been through as an adult?
How would how would I prepare someone?
Yeah,
to
whether
go
that someone
through
is
my
like
unique
23.
set of traumas?
Well, so it's not necessarily the gauntlet of traumas that you've run through, so much as the fact that you've been through the gamut, if that makes sense, right?
Oh yeah, it's the ringer.
Yeah.
Well, leaving aside, and this is what I very rarely discuss, but like early childhood.
Mhm.
I've discussed it at times, but I, as you know, I was a kid we lived on stamps. It was powdered milk is what I drank as a child, until I was adopted. I never drank the first one.
Oh.
I have all this alcohol.
I promised coffee, but I realized that the coffee hadn't actually brewed. I didn't realize it until I went to dump the grounds in the trash.
You didn't make coffee. Did you wait, did you dump good coffee into the trash can and then oh no.
No, all over the
All over the floor. Yeah. So that's why I have a cold cider.
It's like coffee.
Okay.
There's fresh coffee brewing though.
Not sure if want. This is really interesting. I've never looked at alcohol like this before. But it's cold though. Do you want to drink this one? The hot one?
Maybe not.
This is auspiciously timed, right? Tell me more about all the like
Being
shitty parts about being an adult, yeah, and how you're gonna level up and all this stuff. Hold up, let's open another drink. Good looking out, Ted.
Yeah, right.
This is where the show starts, motherfucker.
I I had a very sad and upsetting home life, and I remember all of it. One of my earliest memories is stepping over my father on the street and calling out "Daddy," and my mother slaps her hand over my mouth. I used to think of changing my last name so that my mom would never be able to contact me. Um, he passed away when I was 10. I was actually already living with my great aunt and great uncle because my grandfather vowed that I would never live with my birth parents again because they had forgotten me at school for the last time. So that is what my childhood was like. Losing both of my adoptive parents, but my mother especially, was just the hardest blow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I lost her, as a lot of people know, to MRSA, which in time causes complete organ failure. And at the same time, my adoptive father was going through dementia. And soon after I left One Up, he was well into um, the throes of his disease. And just in that tiny sliver of time between graduating college and trying to embark on my adult career, he had slid so far. My mother didn't understand the video games thing and used to lament that my life was a complete failure to launch. That is, yeah, that is how she felt about it. Until right at the very end, when she was just like, I was very prolific in the year before she died because I think she knew she was going to die, and the best gift she could give me was kind of her blessing on. I mean, so the question is, Jen, if I considered writing a biography about myself. I have thought about it. But unfortunately, because so much of the video games writing I already do is personal memoir, I don't want to actually give it all away at once.
Yeah.
The essays are just bits and pieces, and if you put them together, you can kind of like patchwork together this very seamless, continuous narrative
Yeah.
about my life. Also, I think too much at once is profoundly depressing. It's almost like grief porn.
And you're
And
34. Like, there's a lot of life left.
and it also doesn't sound believable. That's the other problem when you put too much of it down at once.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound realistic. Like, there's no way to prepare someone, especially for like losing your mother. I lived in fear of the day coming. I thought about it all the time. And when it happened, I still wasn't ready. No, you can't brace yourself for life. All you could do is get fucking punched in the face repeatedly. And what do? You keep going. That's all there is. Or you don't, pick one. But I don't know. I don't know what the question really is.
Regardless of the question, I think that's the answer, right? Is that you?
I'm so hell-bent on self-improvement because if I weren't, I think I would actually just get worse, worse and worse and just like more and more devastated and broken. So I'm constantly trying to, this is what it is, like a Wolverine thing, heal myself at a rate faster than I can be killed. And that's all of life, with the health, illness stuff, with trying to get ahead of money, with trying to be prepared for my parents passing away and not. All of life is about trying to heal yourself faster than life can heal you. That's all there is. And if you can make moments of human connection on the way, because we're all dying, then that's just gravy. Like, that's what it's all about, right?
So is that where did that like root desire for self-improvement, is that a relatively recent thing, or is it something that's been there since the beginning and just expresses itself differently in response to different like stimuli, basically?
You've got it.
Gotcha.
You've analyzed me.
So what it looked like as a young Jen versus now, because like now I look at you and like, even though I can make fun of you for vaping or going paleo and generally being like a bro, For the podcast, she's currently enveloped in a cloud of vapor at the moment, and now she's downing the cider. Like, it's been pretty inspirational to see you go through all this shit, and then also see you like gradually just kind of step by step pick yourself up. And this is what I mentioned earlier, like you got a real grit to you, right? It's in retrospect, it's not surprising that you're a fighter. But I guess I'm wondering, like, where did that kind of root motivation for self-improvement, what did it look like when you were young? Like, what have you done to cultivate it, or has it just kind of always existed?
I think when I remember how much pain I was in as a real maladjusted little kid, I really identified with like supervillains who want to blow up the world.
Sure.
I wanted everyone in the world to know my pain, and I think that's a little bit antisocial. I think it could have been, I could have turned into a real mess.
Yeah.
My mom was a high school guidance counselor, first of all, and a super conservative Christian. And when I met her, my adoptive mom, she really saved my life. And I was 6 or 7 when I moved in with her. And I would say it's amazing how much damage you can do to a person in just 6 or 7 years, because the rest of my life has been a journey of trying to let go of all of the anger that I racked up in that very short period of time between birth and being like 6. And I think that was my first directive for myself. Definitely through high school and college was don't get angry. And learn to control my temper, basically.
Yeah.
That's step 1 to becoming a functional human being. And
so that's
I'm not.
That's interesting to me, though. Sorry, not to cut you off too heavily, but that specific thought, like, oh, I get angry, to going from there to, so I should learn to control it, and not, it is the rest of the world's fault for making me angry, is not something that I'd expect like a teenager to be able to grasp.
Oh, well, that's really?
Yeah, like, and maybe this is the difference between like supervillain Jen and the Jen we have now, who I would dare say skews far heavier towards superhero. But like, and, or, you know, maybe it's gendered, right? Like, maybe this is me as a man thinking this, but it takes a while, I feel like, for people to come to the conclusion that if they're feeling something or behaving in a way that is not great, it is not the rest of the world's fault. If that makes sense?
I mean, yeah, I hear what you're saying. I just, I was definitely a loner, but I didn't want to be. I'm not saying that the people person thing is fake or a put on. I'm saying that I really had to like analyze other people and myself.
Sure.
And I really feel a lot of sympathy or empathy for people who are sort of on the spectrum, because I think it's a constant process of like observation and, okay, how do the rest of you normies do it? And I'm going to be over here taking notes, like, and so that's definitely some of the self-help was as a teenager. Yeah, maybe you don't understand that anger is all consuming and that it will destroy you before you ever get a chance to achieve all the good in the world you want to achieve. Maybe that's a big concept, a high concept for a teenager, but no teenager wants to be alienated.
Right.
And I mean, that's an easy teenage notion to grasp. And so I think.
Wait, so what did that work look like when you're trying to figure out how to like were you actually sitting there taking notes, or were you like
how to teen?
Yeah.
I have so many books from my teenagerhood on how to teen girl, because it didn't it didn't come to me naturally.
Yeah.
And I just, oh, I just wanted to be normal.
It does not surprise me in the slightest then that you looked at fighting games and you're like, oh, this is kind of cool and I'll do it for a little bit, but it didn't grab you because you'd already had the experience of studying a matchup. Right.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Like where for me that was like fighting games taught me how to work hard. They taught me how to try and dissect other people so I can understand how they think. And in doing so better understand how I think, right? Like I use my opponent ultimately as a way to study my flaws in how and it's a mirror that reflects back to me my inadequacy, and that's true for actual fighting just as true for that as it is for Street Fighter. But it sounds like you already had cultivated that sense of self-awareness. To you, fighting games wouldn't have been an interesting test because you had already run into far more challenging mirrors, I guess, that showed you your weaknesses and your flaws and so on.
Yeah, I think I'm slightly more self-aware than maybe other people realize. I definitely think I'm still brutally naive in some ways. And I think I'm always going to be like a little bit 11 in that way. But like, yeah, absolutely.
That's kind of magical, I think, that naivete has kept alive at all.
Well, it's called being arrested, I think, actually, Patrick. But thank you. Like, yeah, I don't know. I have dark moments where I think I could almost see myself becoming as bitter and cynical as I would like to give in to being. Do you know what I mean? But it's no way to live a life. And also, I'm married now to, I don't know if you heard this, a saint, by the way. Like,
Wait, you have another husband?
sometimes he's really funny too.
You're like dad funny.
It's creepy. Anyway. Okay, hit me again. Hit me with another question.
Okay. Well, I suppose if the last question started as like kind of how would you prepare yourself, you kind of got, I feel like you kind of got to an answer that makes sense to me, which is you just take the hit and you learn how to get back up.
Right.
How do you get good at that? This is especially interesting to me considering you've said earlier that you're not particularly resilient when it comes to things that you're bad at, right?
Right.
Like you don't perceive an early like, oh, hey, Jen, you suck at this as a challenge to improve necessarily. So it's not like that you have that reaction to everything. But like you could continue to be wallowing in misery, right? And I don't know, maybe that is part of the healing or part of the recovery process. I know when I was getting over my divorce, like I'd set aside time to just be miserable and to dwell on it. And it felt kind of self-indulgent. It felt kind of good to just like allow myself to sit there and feel hurt, right? But that's not something that anyone would ever tell me, right?
So here's an analogy, and I know you're not supposed to talk about, I think one of my favorite essays is Susan Sontag's Illness as Metaphor. And we should never use our physical illnesses and tribulations as a synecdoche or metonymy for a larger struggle. But I'm going to break my rule about not doing that and do that. How much have we talked about me being sick?
Very little.
Okay. So one thing that you may have not noticed, but people who have known me for the last 11 years would notice, is that I have gained, I shit you not, 130 pounds. And after the first 40, I went to a doctor.
Right.
And I was just like, what is this? And he told me to go on a diet. And I've been dieting ever since. I now am going to a really amazing specialist in LA
Mm-hmm.
for what it is, which is Cushing's disease.
Okay.
And interestingly, what that is cortisol overproduction created usually by a pituitary tumor that secretes something called ACTH. And what that does is fill your whole body with cortisol and hurt your health. I'm in a support group, and a lot of people like have lost their hair and teeth,
Mm-hmm.
like or have strokes or break their legs just walking and stuff like that, and it's eventually fatal. Um, and the reason it's so fatal is because the disease has to become really pronounced and advanced before a doctor will take a look at you and be like, oh, wait, no, this is severe. And until then, it's like very in your head. And so that's why it's been slow going and miserable. Um, so my amazing specialist is like, these tests are diagnostic for Cushing's. Um, and until we locate this tumor, um, you're going to be managing it. So try to live. Um, so I went paleo. He didn't have to tell me twice. And I cut out all grains, all sugar, with the exception of an occasional very dry cider, all dairy. Did I already say dairy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And people have been like, was that really hard for you? And I'm like, no. Quitting smoking is hard. But quitting sugar, dairy, bread, anything that tastes good, surprisingly not hard because um, the improvement to my health has been instant and immediate.
Mm-hmm.
Although obviously I haven't lost any weight, and I won't lose any weight until I have surgery. Probably brain surgery. Yeah. And well, the other really scary thing is it has a very high recurrence rate. And a lot of doctors are also really not trained in it.
Yeah.
It started when I was working at One Up, which I later referred to in therapy. I told a therapist it was like gaining weight in front of an audience. Everyone
Ugh.
noticed and everyone remarked on it. And at the time, I just thought I attributed it to a moral failing,
Mm-hmm.
same as everyone else did.
Yeah.
Because your first thought when you start gaining weight rapidly is not tumor. Um, so it's been an amazing, this is why I say, all you can do is heal yourself faster than life can kill you. And I don't talk about it a lot, but it's a constant fight to do the tests that we need to do, to talk to my specialist, who's amazing. But yeah, it's a chronic, rare, not too rare, not as rare as they used to think it was, but definitely a rare chronic illness. And all of life is really, this is why I said I didn't want to make metaphors, but all of life is a rare chronic illness. Um, and it's magical that we're all even here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Life is a gift. And let's see. Aqua Ronan says, I feel like having a good support circle helps. Surrounding yourself with people that you can confide in and share your life with can help take a lot of that weight off your chest. More than often, we feel like we're alone in our miseries and hardships, and falling into the trap of isolating ourselves only increases that effect. Aqua Ronan writes. Yeah, I've been really fortunate, and again, I always mention Ted, but he's been rock solid, sterling.
The weird I don't know. I'm just going to say I feel like one of the strange side effects of you running into all this stuff in your adulthood, whether it's health problems or figuring out how to fall in love and get married as a adult human being and all these things, is that I kind of feel like, for better or worse, you've gone through a lot of the tough shit, like in a period that normally would span decades for most people, right? Like I look at what I've been through as, you know, at like 30 and a half, basically. And it's like, well, other than the divorce, like, I lost my mother when I was young. My dad hopefully still has a good amount left in him, but he had a health scare that was actually MRSA about 10 years ago. He almost died. And that kind of caused him to kick his, like, hey, live a good, healthy life shit into gear. So he's far healthier now, even though he has a plate in his spine, than he was before, right? Because he was like, oh, well, if the bet, you know, he was hospitalized for a year, and in that year he kind of rediscovered how important it is to take care of your body and so on, right?
I had that discovery only recently. I always thought that self-improvement, the stuff that matters, is all up there and in here, and I was an indoors kid, you know. I didn't actually pay due respect to people who are very like jock and your body is your temple and all that stuff. And I actually, before my wedding, started exercising an incredible amount and immediately gained 60 pounds. It was, it turns out you can't exercise if you have cortisol excess because you make more cortisol when you exercise. It's like so fucked up. So it was meeting Ted. I didn't think I was going to get married. And then when I lost both my parents, I was like smoking extra hard, right? Drinking extra hard. What's the point? I meet Ted and I'm just like, you want kids? You mean I have to live for someone besides myself? Like, oh, this is a weird, tall order. I never thought I'd be saying this, but okay. And that's why 2016 is Year of Health. Ted got me in to see this specialist, and I've been like so hardcore focused on my health. Is like Ted said to me recently, my health is my number one job right now. Yeah. And everything else is just sort of like whatever I can eke out when I'm not working on my health stuff. Because you're right. I've had enough for one life. I'm like ready to retire. Yeah. I'm ready for the long retirement where it's all sunrises and cats and fucking watching Steven Universe and going for bike rides and maybe seeing some places, maybe getting my passport updated and doing some stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I'm ready. Yeah. I got married. It's time. And so that's actually why the paleo and the vaping and all this other stuff is I'm like, you know what? It's not hopeless. Between Ted and this guy in LA, my specialist, and everybody else in my life who's really pulling for me, it's so not hopeless. And I think I finally hit a dark place where I was getting ready to get married, still grieving my mom, all of this health stuff, and then Gamergate happened. And for a while, it just crushed me. I worked so hard all my life to get my mom to like understand what I wanted my writing to do. And that whole event just made me like, it felt like I had failed my mother. Is how I interpreted all of that. And I said to Ted, just my life is over. There's no point in going to an endocrinologist anymore. I think I'm just done. I think it's done. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Go to the beach, die slowly. You know what I mean? Yeah. And fuck that, man. Fuck that attitude. I have already done way too much to give in like that. So that is why no sugar, vaping all the time. That's why. It's because fuck that attitude. And I'm gonna get healthy, but that's not all. Then I'm gonna get ripped, and it's gonna be like weird.
Yep.
And I'd like so
I'm looking forward to seeing shredded Jenn show up at GDC
right.
or whatever.
They're like photos from college, by the way, if you really want to know what shredded Jen looks like. Because I was okay, I called myself an indoor girl, but I did have a boyfriend in college when he was a gym rat, and so we both were. I'm looking forward to doing that again. Because Ted wants to get ripped too, and I was like, man, we should lift.
Yep.
And that's what I was joking to you about with the vaping, the paleo, and
Yep.
wanting to get into lifting.
Oh yeah, no, you guys are huge douchebags.
I know. I'm just like meat heading out, man. But no, it's all important. Everything is important. Everything is important. I think that's the takeaway. What is this? You got it. What is mash DP on Wake Up?
It's so DP is Dragon Punch. The
Sex act?
No, that's a Donkey Punch.
No, the dragon is when.
Oh
Never
God,
mind.
there's a. All right. It is Ryu's Shoryuken. It is invincible on startup, and so if someone knocks you down and you do a wake up Dragon Punch,
I
it
see.
is.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry about the. So crass. I'm so crass. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
No, that's beautiful. Sometimes, okay, Aqua Ronin says, sometimes you just gotta mash DP on Wake Up. Fuck it all. And that's right. Yeah, if you are knocked down and you have a yeah, that's a really good way to put it actually. Like a wake up moment,
Mm-hmm.
a waking point, where you just gotta sprint. Yeah, I go big or go home. You gotta sprint for that finish line, man. So I don't know. That's the story of my life. I like that you were like, how's Pomodoro going? And I'm like, I was born in 1982.
So I found that some interview guests require a little bit more shepherding, and with others, I'm so confident in their storytelling skills that ultimately my questions are just trying to get to start the conversation, not finish it. And you've done perfectly.
You did send me the email and kind of warned me, and I felt dread, and I was like, this is Pat brings up the gnarly, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna pace around the house for the rest of the day and boost myself to like be open about.
And you've done splendidly. And honestly, I'm sorry for inflicting that kind of stress on you. Lord knows that probably didn't help your cortisol levels. So if you've
no, giving me the heads up, these might be possible interview topics. Feel free to nix or veto. And I just looked over the email and I was like, oof, guess I'm gonna talk about all this shit. Right? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, so there you go. I'm there you go.
And to be honest, like I've found so far that people are kind of relieved for the most part to have a way to talk about this, because so often when we talk about each other in the context of games, we're not talking about people, we're talking about products, and people kind of come secondary, right? Oh, who's that guy? Well, he's the one who made this game or this other game, and so on. At most, you get like a pithy story about childhood something or another, but we are people, right? And
video games don't make themselves, and they sure as hell don't play themselves. People are the most important part of a video game. Like, imagine Tekken with two controllers on the floor and no one sitting at them. That's not a game. That's a screensaver.
And the reason why I wanted to talk about some the whole wide range of traumatic adult experiences you've been through is because I think, if like above all else, your versatility and grit and going through all that is admirable. Like, you're someone I look up to because of that. Whenever I look at the way I deal with any kind of adversity in my life these days, I think, well, shit, like Jen's dealt with worse and made it look easier. You are rad. I feel compelled to lean into the mic to tell you this. I'm gonna just get all up in there. You are rad.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, thanks, man.
Um, I feel like at this point I've taken up close to 2 hours of your time, so I don't want to take up the rest of your evening.
It's
Certainly,
11 here. This is a good job. That's not bad. Yeah.
I do want to say though, in case you have any questions you'd like me, this is a standard offer that I extend to anybody, because so much of the show is like kind of asking for soul bearing stuff on your side. If there's anything you'd like to ask me about, I'm happy to answer it.
Mm. How do I get started lifting?
How do you get started lifting? That's actually a really good question. So the starting point actually is diet. And so you're working on that. You've got that down. Like I would recommend normalizing a paleo diet, getting used to it so it doesn't feel stressful.
Oh, I've been doing it for since the 1st of November.
Rad.
Yeah. So this is like November, December, January, February, 3 months. It's my new normal.
Good.
Oh,
Yep.
and I can tell you how I did it, by the way.
Yeah.
I read about it for 3 weeks before starting. No, and I just read everything I could find, and then adorable. How do I get started lifting? Easy. Just find something and start lifting. That's beautiful. Wow. That person is a blast, and thank you.
Thank you, Aqua Road.
Um, and I later somebody told me that's actually how you start a new habit. Is they say don't embark on it right away. Give yourself 3 weeks to think about it. And I was like 3 weeks is the magic number because that is absolutely what I did. And then one day I came home excited to get started. Gave away any of my food that was still good and threw some
That's
stuff
important.
out.
Yep.
And then just.
So the reason why I suggest dialing in the diet before starting lifting is because I think that there's a certain kind of emotional satisfaction that comes with biting off big chunks of work, right? You feel good when you have mentally decided on January 1st that you're going to work out all the time and you're going to eat super clean, you're going to spend less money on beer and whatever, right? Like there's a certain kind of like, yes, I'm going to do this. And the problem is that the benefits that you see in the short term of doing that stuff is not higher than the amount of stress or frustration that you experience from having to maintain those habits, right? My example is actually flossing, because for me, like exercise and fitness is a habit that I cultivated because I had a reason to, is get stronger from martial arts. But it wasn't until I've also made the New Year's resolution to floss pretty much every year for the past 10 years. And I never stuck to it because even though I know that there is a good that I'm doing myself by flossing, I don't actually experience any pleasure out of it, right? It's a pain in the ass. I'm usually sleepy and whatever, right? So I don't want to deal with it. And, and it's not like I notice that my teeth are any cleaner or that my gums are healthier or any of that, right? So,
Well, the other thing is you also don't notice any of the bad yet.
yes.
Like if you had to live with the consequences of not flossing right now, I assume your teeth look beautiful is what I'm saying. So if you had to live with the consequences of not flossing, the ones that you may, see down the road,
Right.
and really start to regret the whole thing, the smoking thing is what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Right. If you had to live with the consequences now, you'd be flossing every day.
Yeah.
That's exactly why I went paleo.
Yeah.
It's because I have to live with the consequences right now. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Okay, please continue.
So what I did for flossing actually was I created a spreadsheet. And I wrote an essay about this I can send you. It's called How I Started Flossing.
This sounds so super familiar. I did know about this.
Yeah,
Okay.
But I created a spreadsheet where I tracked every day that I flossed with the goal of hitting pretty much every day, like daily flossing, because the satisfaction I felt of marking a yes in that box needed to be worth it. Right.
Is this why you were asking me about Pomodoro?
Yeah.
Classically, what you're supposed to do is actually make a hatch mark every time a 25-minute period passes, so that you actually have the tangible, palpable reward of marking off a segment. And then the 5-minute break is to make you want to get back to it.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the 3-week period of reading about paleo just made me want to jump in without reservations And I did.
And
Like,
so that's the other thing about getting into lifting as a habit is that if you start too heavy too quickly, or you're trying to do a high volume or whatever, if you push yourself too hard, you'll feel satisfaction in that moment, like you're accomplishing something, but you won't have the satisfaction of hitting a rhythm, right? So you'll feel really good for one session, but if you overdo it, then you're not going to feel good about missing the next couple days. And so the dovetail with Pomodoro that I saw was that it leaves you, oh my goodness, you just hit your mic.
I know, I'm sorry.
Like structuring a workout plan such that you can keep that consistent feeling of, yay, I did something more, or I did something better, as long as you can, is important, right? Because at some point you get to the state of habit formation where it's already a habit. Like for me, I don't feel comfortable unless I'm working out several days a week. But it takes a while for me to calibrate my state of mind to where I feel that, right? That's where the habit is unconscious. Oh, of course I'm going to work out today. Getting there is like, you kind of have to leave breadcrumbs of like, oh, hey, I did something new today, or I did something different, or whatever. So what I do now is I just have a spreadsheet where I track, I've decided on some lifts that I want to do. I track how much time, or like how much rest time I give between sets, how many reps and how many sets. And I try and ratchet that up as gradually as possible, not with the goal of hitting a certain benchmark, like, oh, I've done this much weight in a month, but, oh, I just want to be consistently improving, because consistent improvement is the hardest thing to get in a lifting plan once you've gotten past your kind of newbie gains. So I find that like really the important thing to do is like make your progress about the numbers that you put on the sheet, and make the curve as gradual as possible, right? So that you can get used to that feeling of progress. You can start, like, until you start feeling the intrinsic good of working out, without having to find an external motivator. Like it's worth it to keep those breadcrumbs alive as long as possible, right? Because if you don't hit a plateau until 6 months in, then it's already a habit, and you don't need to worry about it. You can find other ways of pushing past that plateau, but your goal is habit formation. That's the big thing. The other thing, I recommend either looking into the starting strength book or the Strong Lifts 5x5. Either one would be a solid base for a new lifter. And basically what they teach you is they teach you a system of kind of tracking your progress and adding weight over time. But they also teach you some pretty important core lifts. And what I would do is I would check those books out, look at kind of the approaches of each one. So one is Starting Strength by Mark Ripito. There, the bros love this shit, so it's not hard to find.
I'm not going on that bodybuilding forum, if that's what you're saying.
Bodybuilding.
I've been there, and I know what those guys are like. I'm just kidding. Never.
So Starting Strength is a good one. The other one that I liked personally was the Strong Lifts 5x5. But if I were to start overlifting now, I'd probably choose Starting Strength. But what I'd do is I'd look at that stuff. I'd look at the lifts required, like the ones that you're supposed to be doing, and I'd have a personal trainer teach you how to do them. Because proper form is really important.
I've heard that, but I was planning to, you know what? I'm so glad you actually said that, because I was completely planning to like start in my office.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like looking at YouTube.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to do. And so thank you for saying something, because I guess I could really hurt myself.
Well, yeah. So that's the thing, right? Is that like there you can watch a YouTube video and you can try and mimic it, but it really helps to just have someone there to show you. I don't recommend seeing a personal trainer on like a regular basis, though they can help for keeping you motivated and keeping you on task, and they can teach you new stuff. But I think getting the basics down well and having someone there to actually show you is one of those things where like you pay for it once, and it could save you months of being out from injury, or months of learning how to do it properly after, kind of messing it up or whatever. Unless you're very gifted, it's hard to translate a YouTube video into immediate action. Like you just can't replicate that motion completely. So I think it's worth it to at least start out with a personal trainer as kind of like an orientation or something like that. And those are really how I do it. Like the important thing is like you realize that this is a lifelong habit, and so you treat it like you're taking up a lifelong habit. You don't expect to see results immediately, and the results that you see need to come from like you tracking your own progress, because you can't trust your feelings. That's one kind of neat thing about this is at times you will feel like you're not getting anywhere, or it's not worth it, or whatever. The thing that has to motivate you is I'm putting in another workout on the spreadsheet where I track my workouts. And as long as you put it in, it actually doesn't matter if you go super hard or you went, or, you know, or you hit a personal best or whatever. The important thing is just like your goal is not to lift 300 pounds. Your goal is to keep doing this so that your life improves. And so consistency is that's the KPI that you need to optimize for.
That's great. That's great. No, I'm glad you said that too, because a lot of people are like, so paleo, that's amazing. How much weight have you lost so far on it? And I'm like, negative
Yeah.
5 pounds. Like, it's not, it's not a temporary thing. And that's actually why I've been so proud of Ted, for doing it with me. Like, why give up bread? Like, why even do that? But he has, and he's been really supportive. That isn't to say that he has not recently eaten a chicken fried steak right in front of me,
Jesus
which he
fucking
did
Christ.
do, like in a restaurant. But at home, like all the time, he can eat cheese. But otherwise, it's like all the time, and it's been great. And I'm amazed that he's been doing this because it is for the rest of my life. He doesn't have to do it.
Yeah.
It's paleo. A lot of there's a version of paleo called autoimmune paleo, or some people call it autoimmune protocol, and that's where it's paleo, but you also cut out like all nightshades, so like no tomatoes, eggplant, stuff like that. I was actually diagnosed with an autoimmune illness when I was 11, and there's a lot of overlap there with Cushing's, where almost everyone with Cushing's has some other autoimmune thing going on, which is really curious. And a lot of the symptoms dovetail or overlap. And so, yeah, anyway, my point is thank you for saying that, because it's not just about, like you said, going hard. Not, I don't think there's an equivalent in going hard in paleo. Like there's not a going hard.
Yeah.
I never crush my diet. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, but
I'm not really achieving something every day, but
so I will eat
consistency is key.
Yeah, I will eat paleo or extraordinarily low carb and various kind of ketogenic diets when I need to cut weight for a tournament or something like that, right? Like when I'm entering a competition that requires a drop weight. And so like that is kind of it's a crash diet intended to achieve an optimal effect, right?
Right.
So you could be steeper or more gradual with how you transition into paleo, but like for you, oh, I see a cat in the background. For you, it's like this is a lifelong thing. Right. So success is determined not by how hard you go. It's how consistent you are over years.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah, exactly. And, but I really like the idea of approaching lifting in exactly the same way. And yeah, in that regard, every day that you are doing it is crushing it.
Yeah. And as you get into it and appreciate it for its own sake, that's when you get to start thinking about like, oh, well, if I want to increase my weight on this lift, what are the kind of supplementary lifts that I need to do? Or how do I structure a workout in order to put in more volume or change something because I'm hitting these plateaus? And that stuff is actually super fun, but it doesn't make sense to do it until you've established it as a habit and you've come to enjoy it for its own sake. And I think this is actually something you'll get into because so what you're mentioning with Pomodoro, right? It's fundamentally, it's thinking about how time and implementing time restrictions around what we do when can structure our thought process, right? And the place that I have the most experience of that is designing workouts, right? Because stuff like time is a variable that you can play with. If I'm running into a plateau where this lift is like, I'm just not moving more weight than I was before and I've plateaued here, I can add more sets to the rep, or more reps to the set, right? I can do more sets. I can decrease the amount of time between my rest periods, right? And all of those are things that could potentially help me move up into the next level, right? So you have multiple variables to play with, multiple sliders to play with in terms of figuring out how to like put my body through something that eventually makes it stronger in the specific way that I want to. And it's very similar to Pomodoro, right? Like the stuff you're talking about, you're basically doing interval training for writing.
Right.
And that was what kind of drew me to some of the stuff that you're talking about in Pomodoro, and like why I started timing my own writing sessions is because I was like, oh, well, I already do this in other aspects of my life. It just never occurred to me to do it to creative stuff because there was like some kind of blockage there. I was thinking like it was less romantic to structure my work or something, which is stupid, of course.
Well, no, it's great because it's been really helpful to me. I hate standing up when I'm on a roll. Like, I hate it more than anything. And making yourself get up and do that means, you know how you start to peter out or tucker out when the conclusion is in sight. And you can have crushed the whole thing. You've been rampaging on a draft all night. You want to get it up on Medium tomorrow. I don't know. But if you don't stick the landing, you have nothing, especially since readers are fickle beasts. And if you don't leave them feeling like they just read something good, what they will remember is something as bad as your last sentence. And so Pomodoro is really useful because by never letting yourself get into that delirious groove, you also never hit the wall before the end. And I am such a person of extremes that making myself stop for 5 minutes or 15 minutes, it's amazing to have a clock say to me, whoa there, stranger. I think you're starting to rock a little bit too hard.
Yeah.
And you're going to need some of that steam for the finish line. And I found that I can sit and work for 8 hours using a Pomodoro because it's just, just like in order. Then the piece flows out. Writer's block, a thing of the past. And I could just like work it out for, that is my dog. She's turning 13, by the way. Speaking of time. Oh, she was my mother's dog. Ted, the dog, please. Oh, she's in the chair next to me. Excuse me.
Isabel was playing with her.
So this is a miniature schnauzer.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm more interested in the cat in the background, to be honest, but
oh God, she is horrible. And I'm kidding, of course. Ted had an old girlfriend, and the cat used to, not the girlfriend. I was going to say she used to pee on all her stuff. It would be really weird if his girlfriend were like peeing on the cat's stuff.
And on that note, I think we're going to close the show out for tonight.
I'm just saying that cat has never peed on my stuff, and that's why I love her.
Hooray. That's a good kitty. Jen, thank you so much for agreeing to show up on this silly little stream and talk about a whole bunch of deep shit.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
You are the best. I will say this again. You're an inspiration to me, and I admire the hell out of you. So I was super flattered when you agreed to show up on this here podcast.
It's really flattered to be asked. Thank you, Pat. You're one of my favorite people.
Oh. And for everyone who is watching, either if you're on the stream, I mean, if you're on the stream, straight up, you're my favorite. But if you're watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast, this is pretty cool too. Thank you so much for your support. Y'all are the reason I keep doing this. And if you're new here, I do interviews with rad people who are good at a lot of cool stuff. I usually do those Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. And then the rest of the time I stream fighting games. So if you like this stuff, give me a follow. If not, thanks for stopping by. And thank you so much to everyone. I'm going to call it here. Peace out, y'all.